I'm so excited to welcome you to season 3 of Career Resilience. My name is Jan Daniluk. I'm a senior human resources consultant at Keast, a progressive accounting firm in London, Ontario, Canada. Each week, I get to talk with people about their career path and their career journey, and maybe we can all learn from each other how to be a little bit more resilient in the challenging world of work. Please check out my website, career-resilience.com, where you'll find season 1 and season 2, and now season 3. Welcome.
Love what you do and do what you love.
The best career advice I've received, follow the fun.
Those opportunities will just organically present themselves.
Establish those connections and maintain those connections.
Acceptance just means accepting what is.
I don't think we should just put ourselves in a box.
At the end of the day, it was always me that I said, I'm not doing good enough right now.
I want it to always be, movie night on Friday night.
My guest today is Jeff Fung. Jeff is Vice President of Operations at Forever Homes, which is a residential real estate and construction and development firm. He's Vice President of Operations, as I said, and that means he handles the day-to-day of the business and leads the team. This is also a family business, and that in itself has very interesting challenges in the world of work. So Jeff, welcome to Career Resilience.
Thanks for having me, Jen. Appreciate it.
It's just great that you are available to chat with me. So I know we're going to talk about your career and the business and so on, but I thought we could start out by, if you could just tell me a fun or random interesting fact about yourself.
I guess one of the interesting facts about me would be, I had the opportunity after university to travel and work abroad of sorts. I went with two of my college friends and we backpacked Europe for about a month. And then me and another gentleman, Mike, continued on to Australia, where he had a study abroad program that he was doing, and I worked and traveled with him for about 6 months. So I took about 7 months after graduation and traveled and worked in Australia, which was a fantastic experience looking back on it. Some struggles when we were there with it's hard to find that first job and kind of make do without having to call home, which we definitely didn't want to do. But it was a great experience and wouldn't trade it for the world. And I encourage everybody to do the same, even people that work with me and other trades that I talk to.
Yeah. What kind of work did you do in Australia?
So my first job was very unsuccessful, but I worked at a call center that sold timeshares or sold arranged timeshare meetings.
Ooh.
So that was that lasted about, I'm tempted to say 10 days, maybe less, 7 to 10 days, somewhere in there. And then after that, I worked for a company that specialized in enthusiast gear and law enforcement gear. They had a online sales kind of department, but also, so it was like a pick and pack warehouse. They had a small retail shop, and then they had commercial government contracts.
You mentioned that you would recommend people do this. Did you feel that you grew up a bit through this whole process?
Yeah, absolutely. I think grew up a lot, but also learned a lot about other cultures and other people and other points of view.
Travel really does help you with your perspective about life. I really believe that it's not the same watching it on TV, that's for sure. So I wanted to switch over to talking about your background in terms of education. What did you take when you were in university?
I took accounting. I took a business, bachelor of arts, but a business as a business major with I guess, a focus in accounting.
Okay.
Uh, Never really got to be, wasn't smart enough to be an accountant, but went down that stream and but really appreciate the knowledge there.
Yes.
It's helped tremendously.
Yeah, that would be hugely helpful. So thinking about Forever Homes, the business that you're in, um, can you give me a little bit of background? I know that you're the son of immigrants. So can you give me a little bit of background about the start of the business?
Yeah, the I don't know if any of us really know how the business started. It was definitely a journey. I don't think so. It started with my mother and father are the founders, and I don't think they really know how they got into it either. Um, so the generally speaking, they immigrated in 1990, uh, in I believe June 1990, and I was born shortly after in November. My dad was an entrepreneur in Hong Kong, so they both immigrated from Hong Kong. So he had always had he was a business operator in Hong Kong. When he got here, they were trying to figure out, what type of work or business they wanted to start, and they took on a bunch of jobs in different industries to get a feel of things. Um, my father started as a waiter at a Chinese restaurant in Masonville. At the time, uh, my mother worked in a deli at No Frills, um, and they both worked at the time called Robin's Donuts. Uh, on I think it was on the corner of Horton and Wellington. Uh, there used to be Robin's Donuts. So they tried a few different industries to see what one they would like to start. The typical ones and ones that were kind of low barriers of entry at the time. Restaurants, supermarket or convenience store, um, uh, Tim Horton or coffee shop, things like that.
What
And
what do you mean, Jeff, when you say low barriers of entry?
it, it didn't take a lot to get. It wasn't something that took a lot to get started. You know, you could, a restaurant, a little bit of money and space, you can, start a restaurant.
Mm.
Um, uh, and same thing with a coffee shop.
What kind of business was your dad in Hong Kong and your mom?
He, my mom had an accounting background as well. She worked for a couple companies in Hong Kong, uh, British-based companies. My father had a commercial printing company.
Did they speak English?
My mother's English was fine. It was good enough, and mostly she finished high school, um, and also did some postgraduate studies. But she also worked in a British-based company, um, so they all spoke English, and there's some Scottish people there. She remembers, but so she had to use English quite a bit. So her English was good. My father's English was and still isn't the greatest, uh, but he had a good mind for business and entrepreneurship, and very um, personable. Uh, and a lot of people say he's a pleasure to be around. So I think that helped him a lot here.
So, Jeff, are you incredibly impressed by the bravery of your parents?
Yeah, absolutely. More and more as I get older, more impressed with it, what they've done and what they've been able to achieve in their time here. It's it's a London is in 1990, 1993 or early 90s. London wasn't as nearly diverse as it is now,
Right.
um, and you know, there's no internet or technology really. There's no Google Translate or anything like that. So they had to trust a lot of people and put themselves out there for
Yeah.
sure. And and I kind of talk to my wife now, and I say like, imagine us just this is about the same age as my dad now moving from Hong Kong to Canada. Imagine if we picked up and moved to you know Thailand or anywhere else that where we don't speak the language.
Hmm.
Um, it would be extremely challenging,
Yeah.
uh, even with the technology that we have. So it's quite impressive, and I have a lot more respect as I get older for immigrants and those
Yeah.
that have been here for a while and established a business or a life for
Yes.
for themselves from another country.
Yeah. The courage it takes is kind of mind-boggling. Now, for yourself, did you always know that you were going to go into this family business?
No,
Oh,
the joke and that we still kind of talk about today is growing up. I would tell my father that the moment I get my hands on the business, I'm going to sell it.
oh,
So I never wanted to be a part of the business, never wanted anything to do with it. Um, but I learned to appreciate it now and learned about it, and it's great. I don't know what else I would do if I wasn't doing this.
yeah, it's a fascinating business. So did you work in the business as a kid in various
Yeah,
jobs?
yeah, and that's probably why I didn't want to ever be part of the business.
Yes.
Just as a teenager or 15, 16, would be on site sweeping and cleaning and doing all uh, the grunt work,
Yeah.
which nobody really wants to do. But it taught me a lot, uh, and looking back on it, especially, and a lot of the trades that we use now are still the ones from back then,
Mm,
and a lot of them remember me on site, so they have a little bit more respect for me since they know I've done some of it as well.
yeah.
Uh, and being able to relate to the guys on site and have when talking, at least I know a little bit of what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. But it's yeah, I worked on site growing up in the summers and stuff like that.
So at what point did you really know that you were going to get into the business as a career?
After I came back from Australia, um, our family was working on a project, um, or my dad was working on a project, uh, which was a student rental building across from Fanshawe, and he was looking
Hmm.
for some help with that. Um, so it was either I went out and got a job, uh, or I kind of help him and see if I would like the business. Uh, I also, you know, I've never really been the best student, so probably my resume wasn't the greatest trying to get a job. So by default, I kind of had no choice and stepped in and helped my dad with that, and worked with a lot of people through those first couple of years and really liked it. And same thing, never looked back.
Yeah. Yeah. What are the challenges you find in working in a family business?
I think the biggest challenge for me has been um, the work always follows you. We even growing up at the you're always talking about or my parents are always talking about work. At the dinner table, when we're driving, from home to a restaurant or home to hockey or back from hockey, or it always just kind of follows you and it kind of consumes you,
Hmm.
and for better or for worse. So I think that was kind of the hardest part, especially starting my own family and my wife not being from that environment. When we had dinner at my parents' house, we're just all talking business, and she's kind of on the sidelines there. Um, so yeah, I think that can be um, hard sometimes. Then there's I think the typical stuff where you know you have disagreements that can carry over into personal conversations or personal things during
Yeah.
uh, dinner or whatever. You get upset. You take work home from with you, even whether it's good or bad. Um, Disagreements and power struggles. Uh, so it's hard to navigate those things sometimes. Uh, Luckily, I don't have any siblings, so I can't really comment on that. But you see that a lot too with um, siblings trying to maintain control or certain types of control.
Yeah. Do you ever do you ever need to get away from each other?
Uh, mm, no, like
Yeah.
I think we all have a good relationship. Me and my parents have a good relationship, which is probably a reason why my dad was okay with me coming into the business, is we had a good relationship.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't feel that he's there too much or we see each other too much. Um, yeah, it's never been a problem for me or us.
Yeah. What advice would you give others in your position in a family business?
Um, I guess in my scenario where I'm the incoming generation, my advice would be um, that you're probably wrong. Um, co- and I've been wrong probably more often than not. Um, and the experience of the previous generation is tremendously valuable. And the relationships that they've made and the inroads that they've made are tremendously valuable, and don't take that for granted. Sit back and listen and observe. Obviously, most people are trying to improve the business and will make mistakes um, along the way, but uh, positive mistakes. But the the experience of the previous generation is probably a lot more useful than uh, the academic knowledge you may have obtained uh, over the course of your studies.
Do you think that sometimes what happens is that the new generation maybe doesn't have the same amount of respect for the previous, because of course, when you're the new generation, you think the ideas that you got are innovative and creative, and you did that and that's fine, but I'm just going to be polishing this apple.
The acceleration of technology, there's a big difference between technology from 1995 to 2020.
Yeah.
So that acceleration, and in our industry specifically, um, technology hasn't always um, accelerated.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much change in the technology and bricklaying from 1995 to
Yeah.
2020, 2022. So, you know, us coming in, with cell phones, laptops, this, that, and whatever gizmo, we think that we can improve the process. Um, and I think construction does need that uh, to a large degree. Um, However, it's hard to change an entire industry
Mhm.
overnight. So the amount of technology that's available to us, and also the accessibility of information, I
Yeah.
think gives people like myself a little bit more confidence in trying to make changes or implementing changes that may or may not add value.
Yeah. So, talk to me about how you have had to be resilient in your own career.
Um, I think the biggest part of that is being able to, um, be humbled, understanding. Um, I guess that part of, you're probably wrong.
Oh,
Um, you know, you're being wrong and failing is not a bad thing. Um, but people lose a lot of confidence when that happens. Um, making making mistakes is a good thing, but also understanding why you made those mistakes or how to not make those mistakes again
Mhm.
is important. And I think that's part of the resilience.
Now, you played hockey.
Yeah, if you can call it that. I was out there.
You were out there. Um, did that shape you at all?
Yeah, sports was a big part of my growing up for me. I didn't have any siblings, so didn't have any real head-to-head competition or competitiveness, in the
In
house playing games or whatever. So sports was a uh, big thing for me, whether that was at school, hockey outside of school, um, high school basketball, stuff like that.
yeah.
Uh, really enjoyed it. Helped me understand team teamwork, hard physical work as well, and also a lot of times the core being able to correlate hard work with results, um,
Yeah.
tangible results is important to see. So that kind of fostered that for me.
I have my questions for you that I wanted to ask. What has been the best career advice that you have received?
Um, the best career advice I've ever received was that the most important thing is reliability.
Hmm.
Um, you can you could be the best at something, or you could be the worst at something, uh, but if you're not reliable, uh, neither of those things matter. And it rings pretty true in construction.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Showing up is 80% of the work. We can always teach you how to be better at something, uh, but we can't really teach you to be here. You just have to be here.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, reliability and dependability, I think, are the biggest assets, um, as an employee or even as a person, as a leader. Um, and that was the best advice: is if you can be reliable, you can't be replaced.
Tell me about the houses that you build. Are they getting more and more complex? Are they getting simpler? Like, where's your industry going in terms of housing?
Um, that's a good question. Um, Complex. Uh, I would say they're getting slightly more complex, um, but at the same time, the some of the processes are getting a little bit simpler. Um, the There's a lot of new materials and engineered products that are trying to uh, replace some of the older methods of construction. I think the complexity uh, is benefiting the the ultimate product. I think the homes are becoming better and better built and more um, comfortable or easier to maintain or better environment for people to live in.
Mhm.
Uh, the types of home we built primarily, you know, relatively entry level homes and townhomes. Um, and the I'd say the most complex part of things these days is, more the gadgets that people are trying to put into the homes that don't really have too much to do with the actual home itself, but smart smart homes, whether that's smart lighting, um, smart shower valves, uh,
Mm.
equipment, and some of the fridges these days too. They got their Wi-Fi enabled, and
What do you think, Jeff, of 3D houses?
yeah, I actually saw my first one in in January, where it's kind of like a printed house. Uh, I think it's a great idea, um, but I don't know if it's uh, works in our climate yet. I think there's still a long ways to go. Um, it might work in places like uh, warm, probably typically more warmer climate places,
Yeah.
uh, or single or one or two seasonal
Mhm.
places. Whereas our climate here, you go from +40 to -40.
Yes.
So it's a very large swing. Um,
Yes.
but I think what I've seen a lot is a lot more modular type building, which I think is going to be. Um, I hope that can improve and help kind of increase the capacity of building, um, and it can be built in any place,
What
whether
is
it's
modular? What does
well,
that?
it's kind of like a lot. It's been around for a long time, but it's kind of getting better. But anything from there's all kinds of forms, but anything from building, you can build a house in a factory and in like four or five pieces, and then ship it to site and make connection.
Mhm.
It can be um, very small build formats that are utilize containers. That was a big trend,
Yes.
container ships.
Yeah.
Um, Other parts of it, maybe on the high rise side, is you can actually order like a whole bathroom that's already pre-made, and all you have to do is kind of slide it into, you crane it up into an apartment and slide it into place. So it comes in all different formats, but I think modular building is
Yeah.
probably a way to go. It eliminates, for us, it eliminates a lot of variables when it comes to weather. Building in the winter is not always great, but if you can build it in a factory and just kind of quickly assemble it on site, it takes that weather element out of it, and any
Yeah.
possible quality degradation because of weather.
I don't really think it's taken off though, has it? I mean, modular houses, now that I recognize what you're talking about, have been around for a while, but
Yeah, it's still quite expensive.
uh,
Um, they're a lot more they're a lot more prevalent in places where trade accessibility isn't available.
back to careers, and my second question for you in that list is there a book or a podcast or even an entertainment show that you have streamed that influenced you or made a difference to you in navigating life?
I listen often to um, some more kind of global business podcasts. One of the ones I listen to quite often is, it's more kind of a news type podcast, but um, there's a few through The Economist, the
Mm,
magazine, The Economist.
yes.
They provide a lot of economic and also geopolitical commentary, which is quite helpful. Um, and they provide it in a context in relation to business and the economy, right? Whereas
Yes.
versus maybe your traditional uh, news outlet. So it kind of not only provides you with the news, but also some context with it.
Yes.
Uh, a couple of books um, I've enjoyed were more about more, I guess, I don't know what you call biographies um, of different founders.
Hmm.
Um, Shoe Dog is one about Phil Knight and Nike,
Uh,
and how his journey went, which was very interesting. It was similar in this, a little bit similar in the sense where um, Phil Knight, this is, I don't know, back in probably the '70s, uh, had to go from America to Japan, so he had to do business in a different country that he didn't understand the
mm,
language or whatnot, and how he navigated those waters. And similar to how my father came in the '90s and had to navigate, the
yeah.
Canadian culture, right? So that
Yeah.
was kind of interesting. Um, there's there was another one, I forget the title, but it was about Starbucks and their start. And those two are probably the ones I remember the most.
Yeah.
Uh, and very good. And understanding how those founders, obviously very successful, navigated the early days um, and, of those companies.
Yes. I always think when I read those types of books that little did they know what was going to happen with Nike or Nike, however you pronounce it,
Yeah.
or, what was going to happen with Starbucks, when they started out. We know the story now, but they didn't at the beginning. So it's quite,
No.
quite fascinating. And my third question is, what are you most proud of related to your career?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to be proud of yet. Um,
Jeff, there definitely is.
there's a long way to go still for us. I think the thing that you know we can be proud of today is the we've been around for 30 years,
Yes.
uh, and I've only really been involved with the company for the last 10. But we've seen some tremendous growth. I think the thing that we're proud of is uh, we've been able to provide a platform for multiple stakeholders to be successful with, um, whether that's our employees, our trades, um, our customers, and even our vendors. Uh, we've created this vehicle where you can um, grow with us or even grow faster than us. But we've been able to provide an opportunity for different people to come along on our journey
Yeah.
with us. We've had many staff members that have come uh, into our business and then have gone and done their own thing and have been very successful. So we're glad to see that. Um, we've seen trades grow with us from a small electrical company to a larger one, to a mid-sized one, to a large one, and them adding staff and growing. So I think we're proud that we've been able to help um, people along the way and help them grow because we know there's been a lot of companies and a lot of people that have helped us uh, as well. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
we didn't get to where we are without anybody. Uh, definitely gotten here because of people.
Yeah. So you're the kind of person who likes a win-win scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I like what's the point of win lose in business,
Well, it
right?
does happen.
Yeah, it definitely happens, and we
Yeah.
it definitely happens. But that's not what you should be. That's not what we want to
No.
strive for, right?
Yeah,
We
that's
we
not your
want
mantra. Yeah, that's
no.
nice.
I think everybody in the value chain needs to win, or
Yeah.
else it's no longer a value chain, right?
Yeah.
A builder shouldn't make all the money, and a drywaller shouldn't make all the money, and an electrician shouldn't make all the money, and a developer shouldn't make all the money, and the farmer shouldn't make all the money, right? I
Yeah.
think everybody needs to provide value and receive value along the way, and it doesn't work if it's not there. And I think we're seeing that more and more now. Is probably in the past there wasn't enough value for some of the trades, and that's why
Yeah.
you're seeing a lack of new um, labor in that field,
Yeah.
and there's no monetary reward. Why would they do it, right? Just
Yeah,
like
exactly.
why would we do it?
Yeah.
So I think it's not sustainable.
I think it also this might sound a little sheeshy, but I think it also puts a better vibe into the homes that you're building. It makes a better home, or a forever
Yeah.
home. I love that because people along the whole line care about the product that they're putting together. And that's great.
Yeah, exactly. They need to
Mhm.
be proud of what they're doing as well.
It's so important. That's everything I had for you. Is there anything you wanted to add, Jeff?
No, I'd like to thank you again for taking the time and having me on. And I appreciate you listening to me.
Well, really interesting stuff, that is for sure. And you are in a challenging business, and I think we're lucky to have you in that business. So thank you
Thank you.
for meeting with me. So to our viewers and listeners, thanks for joining Jeff and me today. I'm sure you learned a couple of things. I certainly did. If you're a viewer, watch us on YouTube. If you're a listener, find us wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you so much. And until we meet again.